And it happens, actually, it's a part of this process. The more energy is further away, the reactions or sensations are stronger.
But it's not just energy, you see. If this were, let me try and explain it this way. We live in a four-dimensional world. In quantum physics, they describe our four-dimensional existence as one within the bounds of height, width, depth, and time. And they'll often illustrate it as if we're existing in a bubble. So they'll say, imagine that in this huge, vast, endless, multidimensional universe, this little bubble contains our existence, our playground in the endless universe. The wall or the cell of the bubble is comprised of height, width, depth, and time. And the interior has been energy. Everything, as we've learned, has been energy, including our healing techniques, because they've been subsets, fragments, portions of the energy. Reiki feels different than Qigong. Qigong feels different than Shinshin or Jōrei, because we access them through different techniques. They're different. If they were all the same, they wouldn't have different names and they wouldn't need to be accessed differently. But once we let go of the telescope that focuses us in on one technique, we can then start to see the larger picture. But still, where we've only been able to access energy. Only to access energy, because that's all we've had. The thing now that we understand is that time is moving faster. Not from point A to point B, but visualize one little point, and time is moving faster in all directions at once. So what time is actually doing is opening up and expanding, which means our playground, our little bubble, is now opening up and expanding and encompassing more of what has always existed out here in the universe, but hasn't been here in our bubble before. In other words, it's always existed outside of time, so it's timeless. But it hasn't been here before, so it's new. It's not old, it's timeless, and it's new to us. And this royally pisses off a lot of the spiritual and New Age community who want everything to be old, because their egos want to be able to say something like, oh yes, I remember this from my past life when I was Cleopatra for the 37th time. And guess what? Sometimes something is just new. And isn't that nice? Because we're also here for what is new. So what science has discovered with reconnective healing is it's not a technique of healing. It's not even just the entirety of healing. It's a field, it's a genre, it's a tapestry in a sense, so broad and fully comprehensive that it contains all the gifts of the healing techniques without the weaknesses, because it simply allows us to access the energy and then move beyond into light and information, aspects of energy, light, and information we haven't seen here before, and it's without the limitation of the techniques themselves. In other words, it allows us to stop doing and instead to become the healing. This is going a little bit against what we're taught, because the healing teachers are not always masters. The teachers are good at bringing us back. Come back and learn more, come back and learn more, write me another check, my husband would love to deposit it, come back and learn more. And yet the masters say, don't come back. The masters are the first ones who tell us they're not teaching us in the first place. The teachers are good at keeping us coming back and filling their chairs. The masters say, don't come back, I need that chair. Because there's always the new student as long as there's truth to be taught. The teachers say, do this, then do that, then do the other. But you know, the masters are the ones who explain to us that the true gift of the technique comes only once we transcend it. If you take a lit candle to light another candle, to light another candle, to light another candle, you never see that flame standing there cowering in fear, trying to protect itself or spray itself with alcohol. You only see that flame standing there in the truth and beauty and integrity, the essence of who and what it is. And by doing so, it inspires the next candle to ignite, and the next, and the next. It's time for us to take our lessons from that candle, from that light, and stop trying to do the healings, but to become the healing, to become the light. So in the interaction we have with others, we simply inspire their return to balance, to the natural vibration of light. We know today from the work of Dr. Fritz Popp that in every single cell in your body, the DNA emits specific levels of light. It's different for human beings than for cows or goats or donkeys or goldfish. It's generally considered that when the light is diminishing, our health is dimming. When the light is coming back up, our light is coming back up. What happened with your hand? How is it that with me not touching your hand would respond? What was communicating here was light. Vibration, frequency, entrainment, resonance, and light. The body doesn't heal through chemicals, as we thought. The body heals through these frequencies and through the light. And so the communication that went on was something inside of you going, hey, I remember this. This is me vibrating healthy. This is me vibrating as light. I think I'll do it again. And it's fun. And as you return to that light level, and as I'm playing with that, it helps remind me of my optimal light level. Then anything denser or heavier than light, which tends to include most of our health challenges, has pretty much nothing left to hold on to. So, if appropriate for that person, as appropriate for that person, that density, that health challenge, simply falls away. And healing is just that simple.
Is it?
Yes. And B, anything more complicated than that is designed to sell you something. But you see, the one thing
drugs and products of all sorts.
Products and special waters and special crystals and special, symbols and special protections. But every time we invest in a protection or a symbol or a technique, we take a part of ourselves and give it away. It's time to come back home. The answer is home.
Is reconnection coming back home?
It's coming back home. That's what we're reconnecting with. Our original fullness, our essence as spirit, as being, as Deepak Chopra and other people explain, we are not humans having our spiritual experience. We're spirit having our human experience, and part of this experience is to learn to recognize and more fully connect with and become the spirit that we are, who we are between our lifetimes.
Yeah, and I have one more question. I read before applying for this seminar myself on your website, there was actually an invitation to practitioners, reconnective healing practitioners, to come again because there is some difference that they might find out while attending nowadays seminars. Is this energy frequency changing or something is going on?
It's not exactly that there's a difference. How can I explain it? Well, I'm not scripted. I probably wouldn't do well following a script. Over time, the seminars evolve. We learn how to teach things differently, in different ways. But even when people attend the seminars very close to one another, oftentimes people will want to take it a second or a third time. They hear things differently than they did the first time. The first time when we're there, we're often focused on, are we doing it right? Oftentimes people will come to me and say, oh, it's an entirely different seminar. I go, no, you're listening with entirely different ears now. Your focus is different.
Yeah. And at the very end, Dr. Perl, you have been giving this gift and sharing it abundantly with the rest of the world for so many years now. There are thousands of practitioners all over the world. And what have you been receiving in return? What is your gift?
Happiness, joy, the excitement of seeing people discover something new. And sometimes the frustration of seeing people talk themselves out of it. Not everyone is ready to make this transition. You know, and people come up with different excuses. They say, well, how will I honor my teacher if I transcend the technique? I have to say the truth. Your teacher might not feel honored if you learn just from a teacher. And yet if you learn from a master, that's the only way your master will feel honored, by transcending the technique. It's time for us to become the teachers of the teachers and watching the people come into the seminars and truly stepping into their mastery and being able to go back to the people who are still mired in technique and fear base and say, come here, let me show you something. And bring them up out of it too. That's the gift. The gift comes in that. Children can, we allow children to attend the seminars. Pretty much any age, although I would say, like maybe 7 would be a good low-end age, or probably not much younger. As long as the parents feel that the child can keep their focus and attention through a weekend, and the parents are with them the child to make sure if the child needs special attention. But we also have a condensed class that's designed just for children. And again, you can take it anywhere from the age from 4 to about 15 if you want. And you know best whether your child is geared for something short like that or something for a full weekend. But you see, young children, it only takes a few hours for them to learn it, because they don't come in the quagmire of the ego. And they don't come in living in the fear, thinking they've got to protect themselves or be careful of this or that. We let parents observe from the side, but we don't let parents interact with the child during the class, because we don't want the child running over going, now honey, shake the negative energy off 3 times to the west. Hopefully, when the children learn this work and they go home and the mother or father comes over and tries to tell them to protect themselves, they can look up and go, come on, Dad. We don't have to do that any longer. And they'll learn from the loving look of the eyes of their child, maybe even more, than from someone else who's showing them and teaching them. You see, we look at our children as if they're empty vessels brought here for us to fill with everything that we know. Maybe it's time for us to look at them as empty vessels who are brought here to remind us how to become empty vessels once again. But children learn most easily because they're naturally childlike. It's time for us to become the same way. As I said, there are only a few that dare to open their eyes, and many that do are blinded by what they see. Light is neutral. We choose to allow the light to blind us or to allow the light to illuminate, according to how ready we are to step further into the light and into the illumination process. This does not by any means mean that techniques are bad. They're wonderful. If you're riding your bicycle with training wheels and you take the training wheels off, that doesn't mean, bad training wheels. They were perfect. This doesn't mean that the teachers who are keeping us in fear, and protections and limitations of technique are bad either. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing here. And I'm sure that when we all die and we all return to that wonderful light and we all see each other, that we're all going to embrace and say to some of those teachers, you were so perfect in your role. You kept me shaking the negative energy off and spraying myself with alcohol and zipping up protections. And you finally succeeded in bringing me to such a level of fear that it dawned on me that I'm not willing to live in fear any longer. You were the gift that allowed me to step out of fear and into love. None of us are doing anything that's wrong. We're not doing anything that's wrong by showing the light of how to transcend the fear. And the teachers who are teaching fear-based limitation healing techniques aren't doing something bad either. They're doing just what they're supposed to be. They're helping us come to that level of fear where we can finally see the light and say, I'm not going to be in fear any longer. And we're all going to be thankful and rejoice when we meet at the light. And a lot of us are going to choose to dive back in and come back again and live yet another life of lessons, learning, and teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.